は続いてのプレゼンターはネオユウさんです。Now, please welcome our next presenter, Mr. Neo Yu. Mr. Neo Yu, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Testing. Yeah. So, GM everybody, 皆さんこんにちは. So, this is Neo from Kaya. Today I want to go through a topic in a little bit more, I would say, deep, because I got 20 minutes to talk about that. Sorry about that. It might be another 20 minutes on the final day. But today we're going to go through a mechanisms of auction-based MEV being built on with the gas abstractions being built on a EVM chain that is focused on the mini-dApps. Now, if you may know or may not know about Kaya, so Kaya basically is a, I would say, messengers layer one. We are the exclusive layer one for both Line messengers and KakaoTalk combined. So we are very much relying on our super app infrastructures, which is the messengers. And we have been serving the distribution channel of over 250 million monthly active users. All depends and rely on, I would say, enabled by high throughput layer one, EVM layer one that we have been running for longer than 5 years, because Kaya was coming from a chain merge between Clayton and Finshare, which is a blockchain project between, from Line messengers and KakaoTalk. So as I mentioned, it was all coming an exclusive layer one for KakaoTalk and Line messengers, and all combined together, we are serving the 250 million monthly active users right here. Now, our mission is extremely clear. We have 250 million monthly active users, meaning that we should focus on onboarding the Web2 users to the Web3 on Kaya. But we need to figure out the ways, I would say, there are many Web3 projects thinking of different initiatives to onboarding the Web2. Our solution was starting with the Line messengers. We are the super app chain with the Line's Mini-dApp. So what we have is we bring on the Line Mini-dApp's ecosystem on Kaya as an underlying layer one. And further down, we have the dApp portal very similar to the App Store from Apple, that you will be able to interact, subscribe, and use and play the mini games or mini dApps like that, all via on the same dApp portal on the Line messengers. You don't have to go out. It's just very, very inclusive, I would say, environment or experience with it. So actually, when we pushing for the initiative of mini dApps, it was all coming from the January. So we were running what we call the kite wave. So far, we have onboarding more than 100 mini dApps already, but that was coming from a pool of 1,000 applications that trying to building mini dApps on the Line messengers. And we have been ranked #1 in active users among all the EVM chains separately. And so far we have been, I think when I checked, the latest number is 65 million new wallet we have created already since the launch of it. And most importantly, we have already onboard 140 million cumulative users, and the spending potential for the top ranked dApps is actually more than $500. So quite spending because of the super app infrastructures and super app background of it. Now, I gave a bit understanding and background of the Kaya project, but whatever initiative that we talk about to grow the ecosystem is all enabled by the Kaya blockchain. As I said, this is fully EVM compatible, since 2019, has been almost 6 years from now. We have already been 2.6 billion transactions over 5 years and produced a block, more than 200 million already. Fast, reliable, cheap gas, I would say very low gas fee, very stable gas prices, only around 1/10 of what we have from Ethereum as of today. And we have constantly looking for user experience improvement on a layer one perspective. I know dApps, you could also have so many UX improvement of it, but we are thinking about from a layer one perspective. So we start with the gas abstraction. We actually have the gas delegations deployed when we launched the chain, which is around 2019. It's quite an early gas, I would say, delegation model. And further down, Early this year, we actually launched the gas abstraction, which I actually shared during the FCC 2-3 months ago as well. That's why today I also want to talk about that. But user experience on the gas abstraction may be one of the way, but there are also so many stakeholders within the chain and trying to interact with the chain. There are one group of users, they are the searcher. So how are you going to build a chain that is scalable, with a very good UX, but you won't be having different groups that actually damaging the user experience of your ecosystem or blockchain? That is what I want to talk about, the MEV on Kaya, which is, I would say, slot-based auction, MEV on Kaya. So the reason why we have seen looking into that, because thanks to the Mini-dApps initiative that we mentioned, we start seeing a lot of TGE, the token generation events for each of the Mini-dApps, and we start seeing a lot of on-chain trading volumes that are actually coming up and coming with the Mini-dApp ecosystem. So this naturally leads to the MEV, which is the maximal extractable values of it. But I mean, what does it mean? Is like, for example, a user trying to swap A to B from a DAX, and a searcher actually, if they know that is a high volume or big volume trading of it, they can actually front run or back run the transactions to have it for their own value, for their own profit. And with that, you'll be having a lot of transactions right there, which I'm going to cover in a second. But it could be all representative value that are extractable from transactions in a block. And for example, last swap on DAX, for example, you have the minting event of the NFT from one of the Mini-dApps right there. So there's three types of MEV, as I just mentioned. There's front running, back running, sandwich. Mostly it's back running that you see. They saw a user transaction. They put further transaction like that on their own purposes and trying to maximum the values that they will be getting, which is from the searcher's drop. I mean, everybody got their own agenda of it. We want to build a perfect chain with the UX, the best UX. Builders want to get the values and get adoption. Searchers are looking for profit for each of the transactions and figure it out on the block mining. So why we look into the MEV? Because due to the first come, first serve, searchers send tons of transactions in the network. It could be back run, front run, as I said. And the MEV profit, as we did the research, is quite centralized at the moment for the Kaya chain and also for most of the EVM layer 1 as well. And we need to figure out, or any EVM chain, we need to figure out how to prevent malicious edge or validators. You either have two options. The first option is to ban the MEV activities at all. You need to have some kind of scanners to looking into that, and you ban it right away, because it's not feasible in a private blockchain. But being honest, it's impossible to do that. Because it's unavoidable, we make MEV to be a bit more fair, transparent, profitable for the ecosystem. And this is what we're trying to do. We want to make a fair and transparent ecosystem for it. Our core idea is to introduce a public auction market, which I'm going to give a bit more details in a second, for MEV chances of the searchers, and use the tip generated from the auction for the ecosystem to maintain it. There are a few requirements. For example, we have the 1 second block time on the layer 1, so we cannot actually have a lot of time for the auctions. We need to think about reduce the user latency of it, so we need to think about the like a stateless verifications of the searches as well. And we don't want to have any consensus changes because it's going to take forever. It's going to be very complicated to do that. We don't want to kind of affect the core consensus of it. And final requirement is to minimize the node burden. So the auction process should not significantly increase the operational load of the consensus node, which is the validated nodes on Kaya. Now, we have some ideations right here, which I'm not going to go through everything, but we have the new rule coming from our network right now, which what we call the auctioneers, which is they are running as a role, which should be stateless. And basically what they do is process the auction on demand from the searchers and send the auction result to the network via the consensus node, which is the validated nodes that I mentioned. So they could also verify whether the consensus node is actually doing the right job as expected, whether the validators ignores the bid, where the validators replace the bit without any communications. And also for the validator itself, process the auction result received from the auctioneer and order and execute the bid transaction as normal when they do the block productions as well. So this is overall structures of it. How does it work? As I just summarized, you do have the long auction searches, keep having it, but that will only keeping on the endpoint node. Kaya actually running on a infrastructures in a way that we have the endpoint node have all the RPC. You have the proxy node also as a proxy between the consensus node and the EM, the endpoint node. And consensus node is actually the validators node that we have. As I mentioned, the auction transactions will be sending in from searcher to the auctioneer, and the auctioneer will be organizing it and maybe taking the deposit of it, and they will be deciding the winner's bid, sending to the consensus node. The auction result will be stored off chain, and we also have an auctioneer monitoring as well. And we also need to think about, as Kaya is a 1-second blockchain, what does it mean is there will be a huge demand of the, I would say, the transaction latency if you need to include the whole thing, as I put right there from the right-hand side, your right-hand side. And we are talking about 1-second block time, so you need to at least leave some buffer, like 250 milliseconds right there for the buffer for that, and so that that will be making sure that 1-second block time won't be compromised. And we need to also prevent the abusing, but I don't think I'm going to go too deep onto that. But the long story short, if the searchers manipulate the bid, we always have the back running opportunities is still alive, and the searcher can alternatively send transaction through EN to avoid a bid. And these are different abusing mechanisms that we are thinking, trying to prevent it. So, but anyway, as I said, even so, consensus node, sorry, I have a typo right here. Consensus node abuse won't be possible on the Kaya ecosystem or network, is because we also have a smart contract to maintain and manage the consensus node, a validators node right there on Kaya ecosystem. We do also roll out the 4337 because we're EVM chain, of course. It's just come with it, with the features. We also have our own auction entry point as a function, and also auction deposit float. So basically, the auctioneer will take the deposit from the searcher, and then they will just compare with not just first in, first serve, but compare with the highest transactions fee, highest deposit that they have to determine the winners of this. With that, this is the overall of the auctions mechanism. First, you have the registration. Second, you have the pending transactions subscription. Then you have the bid submissions, which is from the searcher. Then we have the winner selection from the auctioneer, and everything going back to the consensus node, validators node, and include the transaction alongside other user transactions to produce a block. Now, I want to talk about the second major UX of Kaya that we have been working on, which is the gas abstractions on protocol. Normally, you have the paymaster as a dApps at the third party, but we do launch our gas abstractions on the protocol. Now, I want to go very deep on the topic. Does it mean low gas will always guarantee good UX? Is it everybody's looking for, oh, low gas, that's good UX, low transaction cost on the user, and so we must be happy. But honestly, for most of the EVM, if you don't have the gas abstractions on the protocol, you will need to rely on the paymaster to do that. And then most of the gas must be paid, settled with your native currency of it. So this creates a fragmented experience and add complexity and frictions, creating one of the most pressing US problems in Web3 today. If you don't have the native currency, you cannot send the transactions. And in the past, within the Ethereum ecosystem, there are many work already completed. You know, there are 4337, as I just mentioned, 2771 also elected, 2612 for the permit functions, so on and so forth. We could see, you know, this is actually a huge step forward improving the UX, you know, from the users actually sending a transaction and paying for the transaction. It simplifies how users interact with the, you know, dApps or decentralized applications. For Kaya, oh, yes, we have a meeting. And for Kaya, we look at the gas abstraction in a way that the GA support the stablecoin, Mini-dApp tokens, and Bora, so that you could use either of the tokens within the Kaya ecosystem to pay for the gas. So you do not have to pay for the gas in Kaya. This is abstracting the complexity of gas fee and transactions with native gas token, which is Kaya for this case. And we have implemented our unique GA architectures on our mainnet, on the protocol level. It already comes with your transactions, and you don't even know about that as a user when you actually pay in other USDT or maybe other stable coins or maybe other ecosystem tokens. This gas abstraction that we have on the protocol layer is actually enabled by the gasless transactions, which is trustless, gasless transaction model on protocol layer. So as I said, now with that, long story short, trading with Kaya GA, you could use whatever transactions, whatever tokens that you like to use, as long as this is included in the ecosystem. For example, our USDT, the native USDT that we have. While trading without Kaya, it will be like this. UX perspective, this is just an example. When you go in, if you don't have enough Kaya, they will just pop up to you and asking, hey, I found you have some USDT balance. Do you want to use your USDT balance to pay for your transaction? Simple as that for the users. But for gasless transaction, people always having the point that I would say complicating or maybe mixing that together. Gasless transaction means I don't need to pay for the gas. No, you pay for the gas in a different way. So this is the mechanism. I will just go very quickly. So the 247, KIP 247, our own improvement proposal, introduced the gasless transactions in a way that they can swap with the whitelist fungible token into Kaya, even though they don't process any Kaya for the Kaya transactions. So basically, the key point is from the block proposal, the consensus node. They temporarily, basically, they will lend the required gas fee in Kaya to the users for a token swap. But anyway, whatever I talk about right now, as a user, you will know about that. What you know is here. If you don't have enough Kaya, then you just use your USDT if you have that. But deep down, it works in this way. You have the lend transactions from the proposer to the user. The user then uses the borrow Kaya to execute a swap transactions from their GA token to the Kaya. Then user will pay the borrow Kaya from the Kaya token that they have received via the swap. Then back to the consensus node or the block proposer. With the remaining Kaya that they have, the user then proceed with execute the original intended transaction. So that's normal. Land transaction in a way that, as I said, this is a block proposer inject a land transaction, onto their block when they're trying to build a block. So they would put a land transaction to start with because this is how it works. We also think about what if, you have so many steps. You have land transaction, you have approved transaction, swap transaction, and then the actual user transaction, just to do the gas abstractions. I know it's complicated, but again, as a user, you won't see that. That's the whole abstractions layer of it. But what if one of the transactions on your right does not succeed? What happened? That's why we need to think about keep everything to be atomic as possible. That's why we have another KIP called the transaction bundle. Is either the whole bundle go as you expect, or nothing will be successful. No transaction will be successful this way. But anyway, so this is actually forming a very strong foundations for Kaya, especially our Mini-dApp ecosystem, that the future gas token could be any stable coin-based gas. So we have more use cases for our ecosystem token, even though it's a TGE from the Mini-dApps. And we have flexible GA right now. We have zero friction adaptation when new tokens launch on Kaya, which is everybody builders right here. When you go onto the TGE stage, your token will be one of the gas payment token as well, automatically. This is another thing that we talk about, the fee delegation, but that's 5 years ago, basically user relying on a third party, like a service, like a dApp itself, to pay for your gas. Now, I want to use the remaining 2 minutes and quickly go through what we have. Kaya is right now focusing on the stablecoin orchestration layer. 3 months ago, we have onboard USDT, so we have native USDT on Kaya. What we have right now, we are going very quickly on enable more local stablecoin. And we have already have JPYC locally. We have also, speaking with the local jurisdiction, we also have the IDR, actually all the way coming from Indonesia as well. So we connect and orchestrate the issuance, circulation, and utilization of stablecoin into a unifying system. So we're trying to build a stablecoin platform. And with that stablecoin ecosystem, Kai will be the underlying layer of it. On top of it, you have different stablecoin assets that we will be on board as many as possible. DeFi layer will be on top of it, interacting around this stablecoin asset. We also, most importantly, we want to build a service that people will be using. That's why messengers is the greatest distribution channel right now, I would say, in the world. Like very easily, you have 250 million monthly active users right here. Even though you have a product, you have the distribution channel right away to have it. And on top of it, application could be built. While you have these kind of use cases about remittance, payment, or even super earn or earn that you might have, you could build on top of the messengers itself for the user. Now, this is what we're trying to build, stablecoin infrastructures, DeFi usage, and real-world usage as well, thanks to the messengers itself. And we also provide the builder support, like the hackathon. Recently, I have few news to announce. Recently, we have successfully launched the beta of the Super Earn on the Line messengers. So basically, is you would earn like a pro, at least for 78% APY. Everything is secure, smart, simple. Everything happen as simple as this UI. If you're interested, scan the QR code, join the waitlist, and start earning like a pro on Line messengers. This is fresh news, really fresh, from yesterday. So we have integrated and partnered with Chainlink officially, and they will be the CCIP will be supporting Kaya, and we will be one of the supporting chain. Then we will be enabling more links right now to make it happen for your assets from different chain. If you're trying to be a builders building on it, or you're users on Kaya perspective. And this is for the builders. Actually, we have 2 more days to go until the deadline, because we wanna give the opportunity to everybody, the builders right here. So that we have the Kite Wave Stablecoin Summer Hackathon. If you're interested, you can scan the QR code and go to the Door Hacks directly and submit it. So basically, this is only focused on DeFi mini-dApps that you are trying to build. And we are targeting to the live launch, and we are targeting for builders who are committed to ship real product, and most importantly, it's 2 more days to go until September 21st. So if you think of Kaya, last but not least, Kaya is the Asia super app chain and mobile first and stablecoin gateway to the Web3 in Asia for everybody. And if you're interested about some news about Kaya, feel free to scan more QR code right here for the exercise. Other than that, thank you very much, everybody, for your attention. And I think I want to say thanks to the AdCon organizer for having Kaya as well. That's everything from me. お疲れ様でした, everybody. Thank you.